Hello, beautiful sister, and welcome back to the show. Today's episode is for you if you are a high achieving woman who is secretly tired, who is doing it all, managing it all, holding it all together, and feeling the weight of responsibility, the kind of responsibility that just never lets up. And I want to say something bold today. I have come to learn that obligation is the enemy of freedom. And that is what we're unpacking today. So, even if you are already financially successful, obligation and too much need for control and white knuckling can keep you trapped in a version of your business and life, really, that is anything but free. And this episode is about you reclaiming the life that you actually want and learning to identify where invisible obligation is still running the show. So let's begin here. Most of us don't walk around saying, I feel so obligated. No, we call it being responsible. We call it being a good business owner, a good mother, a good friend. And we say things like, well, it just has to be done, or if it's going to be, it's up to me. And that's a phrase that I hear a lot. But that phrase, if it's going to be, it's up to me, can quickly become very dangerous if freedom is one of your values. And I know that when I speak to ballrooms full of entrepreneurial women, one of the things that I hear from really all of you is that you started your business because you wanted some freedom. You want to have an impact, but you also want freedom. And feeling responsible can become dangerous very quickly because while it may have served you early on in your business, it becomes a trap at higher levels of success. And you're probably feeling that in your business right now. Obligation keeps you in the role of the doer and not the role of the visionary. And it ties your value, your worth to how much you can carry, how much you are responsible for. And that I have come to learn is the exact opposite of the freedom that you seek. And so I want to say this lovingly, but clearly, obligation is a cage that we willingly walk into because we believe that it makes us worthy and that it's the path to success. So let's dive deeper into freedom and boundaries and the expectations that we have of ourselves and that others have for us. Freedom is not just about income. I want to talk about calendar freedom. It's about emotional freedom. It's about setting boundaries. But most people, most women, have never been taught how to protect our most valuable resources. And I want you to write these down. Your most valuable resources are your thinking time, your creative time, and your nervous system regulation time. And I'm going to explain that in a moment. Let's throw in also sacred time. Time for the inner work, for deep rest, for joy, for vision, for having fun, for being with the people that we love. And so, what most women do is they block off time in their calendar to write their book or to work on that big project, and then they cancel it. And sometimes it's because there's an issue within the team or a client has an emergency. And so they're carving out space for the strategy, but then they override it because an obligation comes up. Somebody has a need. Or maybe they plan a vacation, but then they leave their phone on just in case. They bring their laptop. They say, one more email and I will be right with you at the pool or at the beach. And what happens is there is this false sense of pressure, of immediacy, of obligation, of owing someone something. But I want you to hear this. Just because someone wants your time doesn't mean that they're entitled to it. Okay? I'm going to say this a different way. You don't owe anyone anything unless you've explicitly agreed to do something beforehand, right? You don't owe everyone access. You don't owe every request that is asked of you a yes. And you do not owe the world your constant availability. And that includes clients and that includes team. I really want you to hear that obligation, saying yes to everything, will hijack your freedom if you let it. Now, I know that this is super controversial, right? You receive an email and you feel that you need to respond to it. You receive a phone call or a text or an invitation to something, and you feel the need to go and respond or say yes. Let's talk about practicality for a moment. One of the most important shifts that I made in my own business was way in the beginning, before I was married, before I had kids. And I would take the last week of every month off. And I treated it like it was sacred. I was protecting my time. And that meant no meetings, no client calls, no launches, no meetings with the team, and no being pulled in 100 different directions. And then I had a family and I had obligations at home, I had obligations at work, and I burnt out. And I stopped doing the last week of every month off. And this caused even more burnout because I had no time to rest. There was literally no time to fill the oil lamp back up with oil so I could shine. And when I realized that this was contributing to even more burnout, I built those last week of every month back into my schedule with strict boundaries because I needed time to go inward, to write, to think, to read, to rest, to recalibrate, to be the leader of this movement that is Bold Heart, not from an over-functioning bottleneck perspective, but from a well-resourced CEO. And if a team member books a meeting over that time, I gently go to them and I say, no, that is actually my week. I know this may be urgent for you, but we need to move that appointment to the following week because it's not urgent for me. I have other things that I need to work on. So let's move that appointment. And I am inviting you to start thinking similarly. I believe that you and I must name and defend what is sacred, right? And what is sacred is time for you to think. Now, you can still work on those weeks off from your team and your clients, but let it be thinking time for work. Let it be reading time for work. Let it be focusing on a project that will exponentially grow your business and prioritize that. You have to protect what is sacred. Otherwise, everything becomes negotiable. And when everything becomes important, then nothing is sacred. Nothing is worth your time. And that includes your weekends. It includes your vacation time. It includes your evenings and your morning walks. And I've come to realize that freedom isn't something that you wait for or that just happens. It's something that you structure around, right? It's something that you prioritize. So for you, this is probably how it's going. You built your business through long hours and through being available for your clients and your team. And like me in the beginning, you grew your business through hustle. And there is room for hustle in short spurts. You got to where you are today by doing everything yourself, even though you have a team, even though you get some support. But what's happening now, even though you're making great money, is you're still stuck in the same role. You are the engine for your entire business. You feel indispensable. You're still trading your success with overgiving instead of peace. And you're feeling so run down. But here's the truth that I think is important for us to discuss here today is there is no prize for being the most exhausted woman in the room. I just want to let that land for a moment. I feel that our society prizes us women for doing everything, for overgiving, for being responsible for it all, not just at work, but at home too. We talked about this recently in an episode. If you want true freedom, you want to be at 7 figures or 8 figures, but with real time off, you want space to create, you want to feel easeful in your body again, you have to let go of the identity of the martyr, the one that is responsible for everything. It's an identity shift. And you've got to trade what I call white knuckling for more structure, more delegation, more help from others. This is about you releasing the concept of hyper responsibility. And instead, it's about installing systems so that you're not tied to every outcome. What I'm really trying to say to you today, dear sister, is that you must reject self-sacrifice as the only way for you to reach success, because it is not the only way for you to reach the success and the goals that you have set out to reach. There is a way to lead from peace and from presence and from leadership versus doing everything yourself. You can lead from your zone of genius, not your zone of obligation. So I want you to think about what areas of your business are you still feeling massive obligation? Is it in marketing? Is it in sales? Is it with certain clients, all clients? Is it with your team? Is it that you have a business model that currently takes everything from you, that clients can't get results if you're not involved? That points to obligation, and we get to change that. The thing I really want you to get today is that freedom starts with an identity shift. It starts with you seeing yourself not as the doer, but as the initiator, the person who starts something, but doesn't have to finish it or do it. Because real freedom really is about how you see yourself. And it takes stepping out of the role of the indispensable doer and into the identity of the visionary leader. Because let's get real, you are not here to answer every email the minute that it comes in. You're not even here to answer some emails. You are not here to do every single task because you can. You are here to build the life and the business that reflects your values and the impact that you want to make in the world. And I've really been thinking a lot about it in these past few months because I'm writing a book called 7-Figure Freedom. And how I define freedom, and I hope this lands with you, is that freedom is the ability to choose how you spend your time, how you use your energy, and where you put your presence. Freedom, to me, means saying yes only when something feels aligned, not because it feels obligated, not because it is somebody else's request or priority. Freedom means the ability to say no without guilt. It's really about prioritizing yourself as much as you prioritize everyone else. And I want that kind of freedom for you because I know that you didn't open up your own business to be in a cage of other people's requests, other people's urgencies. You created your own business because you wanted freedom. And this is your moment to be done with the guilt, the pressure, the overdoing, the overfunctioning, being the hero and the rescuer. Done. We're not doing this anymore. And I know that it can feel like a difficult thing to switch, especially if you've been acting from this obligation place for many, many years. Maybe you've set up your business model with your clients so that you are there for every touch point. We can change that. Maybe your team relies too heavily on you or is not pulling their weight and it defaults back onto your to-do list. We can change that. All of the obligations and tolerations of your business, all of the things that are keeping you stuck and not able to move to that next level, to reach those big exponential goals, we can fix those things. And I'm not sure if you know, but every month I open up a limited number of chances for you and I to connect. I call it a get acquainted call. And it is where you and I can talk about your business, where I will listen, I will ask you some questions, and together we can map out what are the strategic blocks in your business and what are often the mindset blocks in your business. And then once we get clear around those, we map out a strategic plan for you to get out of overwhelm, out of being the bottleneck, out of obligation, and into scaling your business to 7 or 8 figures with your life back. And if you would like to connect with me, you can apply for one of these get acquainted calls. You can go into the show notes, or you can go to boldheart.com/call. And then this is a way for you to connect with me. And maybe we can even talk about the Bold Heart Business Program that would help you scale with your freedom back. If you qualify, I would be delighted to have this conversation with you. What I'm here to say to you is you do not have to live like this anymore. You do not have to be stuck in your business. You do not have to be overwhelmed in your life. An obligation is not required. In fact, it is the one thing standing between you and the freedom that you crave. I hope this landed on your heart today. I'm always here for you. I'm sending you so much love. Until next time.